Farmers in the southern Altiplano of Bolivia, high in the Andes, have grown quinoa for centuries. But in the early 2000s, the increasing demand for quinoa led many farmers to plant large fields for the first time.
Aquí en esta comunidad, antes la quinoa no valía.
Here in this community, previously quinoa was worth nothing. It cost nothing. We had livestock, camelids, sheep, so it was a grassland, and it was a beautiful green. There were bushes and thorny plants, everything. But once quinoa began to cost something, we ourselves plowed up the earth without barriers. Once much of the vegetation was destroyed, pests became a more serious problem. To control pests, many farmers spray their quinoa crops 2 or 3 times a year. These chemical pesticides also kill the good insects, and they damage the life in the soil. In the long term, the pests get used to the pesticides and can no longer be killed when sprayed. One of these good insects is a type of burrowing wasp. In the Altiplano of Bolivia, this wasp is known as Nina Nina. This large wasp hunts the caterpillars that eat the leaves and grain of the quinoa plant. Let's see how this wasp lives and how we can encourage it in our fields. The wasp appears in the spring and in the summer. It feeds on the nectar of the flowers of wild plants, such as bushes and grasses. Farmers are not paying much attention to the native hedges. Rather, they're just looking at their yields. But they didn't realize they were turning their soil into a desert. But with organic farming, they're being obliged to put in live barriers. Making or leaving live barriers with native plants helps to avoid soil erosion from the wind, while the plant's flowers are food and shelter for the wasps and other good insects. The native plants help the crop. They give organic matter, and organic matter is important for the soil so plants can grow. Organic matter holds moisture, and with climate change, humidity is critical. The plants are fodder plants, most of them. Also, they host natural enemies of crop pests. The wasps mate in the field, find shelter and sleep in branches and leaves of the native plants in the live barriers. The wasp makes its nest underground, 3 to 7 centimeters deep. To produce offspring, the wasp needs to feed its young with a caterpillar, the quinoa pest. The wasp looks for big caterpillars that have grown large. Once the wasp finds its prey, the caterpillar defends itself and fights for its life for 5 to 7 minutes. The caterpillar is bigger than the wasp, so it's not easily beaten. The caterpillar defends itself, spitting a green liquid to drive the wasp away. But the wasp keeps on going until it stings the caterpillar and injects a liquid that puts it to sleep. Then the wasp drags the caterpillar in its legs to a nest that it's already prepared. On the way, the caterpillar tries to grab onto branches and leaves so that the wasp will let it go. But by then the caterpillar is weak, so it ends up being taken away. Once it reaches its nest, the wasp opens the nest, removing the grains of sand that were protecting the entrance to its nest. Then the wasp puts the caterpillar into its nest. Inside the nest, the wasp lays an egg on the caterpillar's body. While leaving the hole, the wasp closes the nest with sand so that no other insect can get into its nest, leaving the entrance hidden or invisible.
Bien inteligente el animal.
It's a very intelligent animal. It makes its little house and takes the caterpillar on foot. It knows where its house is, and it takes it there, and it hides it and covers it. Inside the nest, a little grub hatches from the egg of the wasp, and it eats the caterpillar. Then the grub makes a cocoon and hibernates for the winter. In the spring and the summer, more wasps come out of their cocoons, and they start their cycle of life over again, hunting the caterpillars that are the pests of quinoa. Before they can mate and lay their eggs on the caterpillars, the wasps need flowers so they can drink the nectar. Native plants in the live barriers are a good source of food and shelter. So what have we learned? By keeping live barriers with flowers around your fields, you help to protect the wasps and other good insects. And it's easier to produce quinoa without insecticides, while conserving our fertile soil. There's an interesting association, and if there were no active bushes, the other parts of life would also be affected. It's important to care for the native plants that help to conserve the soil and control pests.